Well, welcome to the Social Media Church podcast. My name
Hey.
is Aaron, and I am joined today by my new friend, very new friend, and we have been talking for 40 minutes before we hit record. My new friend, Rohn Starling from Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Rohn does all things creative for Transformation Church and stuff for Pastor Mike Todd, also stuff for the church, building teams. Rohn, I'm blown away by all of the things that you've done in your short years of life. Just really inspired by our conversation, and I can't wait to introduce you to all the people listening to this podcast. Welcome.
Wow. I'm so excited to be here. It's just an honor. But it's so funny that we talked for literally 40 minutes before that is just insane.
I know. And it's felt like we've known each other in a previous life. I keep telling Ron that I need to do a better job of hitting record earlier so that some of that content can come out. But just the importance of getting to know people, getting to know what they're passionate about. And I'm always blown away by how God is moving in people's lives, all in different scenarios all around the world, and all for the betterment of the kingdom. And today, I just love being a host of this podcast just for that reason. It gives me a great excuse. Hey, do you want to record a podcast? But really, I want to talk to you for 40 minutes before we hit record.
But exactly.
Ron, why don't you introduce yourself to, most people are probably familiar with Transformation Church. They might even be familiar with Mike Todd, but I'd be curious for them to know you, how you fit into that equation, and maybe some of the things you do.
Let's do it. So my name is Ron, and let's see, I was born in New York City, and somehow I managed to move all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yes.
And I get to be a part of this insane community that just so focuses on representing God to the lost and found. And it truly does transform you. There's so many little things about what happens at TC that have just shaped who I am in the short time that I've been here. But I get to make, when I say make content, I mean every aspect of it. Literally, if I'm making a graphic or a motion graphic or video or taking photos or even just thinking of creative ideas to implement and being a part of that process. I'm not saying it's all me by any means. We definitely have a really strong, beautiful team of incredibly creative minds. But it's so fun. But it all started with, it started with a dream. Yes. It started with I said this yesterday. I was just with my friends. I'm walking out right now things that I said when I was 17, 18, 19.
Wow.
It was prayers. It was hard work. It was being the first person there and the last person to leave. It was learning things that I had no idea why I was learning it. Yep. It was just hard conversations with my parents. Why are you doing this? How come you're not home? How come you're always doing this? And I'm like, Dad, I don't know, but it's worth it. I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my spirit. This is unto something. And now 5, 6, 7 years later, I'll talk to my dad and he's like, I'm just so proud of you. I remember when you were paying for school by yourself. I remember when you didn't know what if you were going to get a job at that church. I remember when it was super confusing. I remember when you went through that church hurt. I remember when those people just did you dirty, and it's it's worth it. It's so worth it. But I get to be here and it's so cool.
That's right. Yeah. So let everybody know how long you've been at Transformation Church. And
Sweet.
One of the funny things that I'm learning, Ron, as I'm having these conversations, oftentimes it's really hard for me to just through talking, you do social media. You also are a video editor. You do those things. I'm having a harder and harder time in the church, especially with what COVID has done. What are people's job titles anymore? It seems like everybody does multiple things, and it seems like you could even be doing the same thing at 2 different churches, but they call it 2 different things. So
they call it also 2 completely different things.
You're not this. You're much more than the social media. Why don't you let them know how long you've been there, as well as what exactly you're called?
My goodness. We're still figuring that out, but I've been at TC to this day exactly 11 months. And my job title, I don't even know. Is it content creator? Is it content strategist? Is it am I just
so they don't, guy? So you don't know that you're just Ron, go create that.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what it is. I'll get a text from Pastor Mike and he's like, hey man, can you make this? And either I'll make it or I'll have someone on my team make it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It'll be
I
a
do.
collaboration, or I'll hire someone else to do it.
Right.
It's just, I'm just wow. I'm just a branch. We were talking about this in a staff meeting. We were saying John 15, I'm the vine, I'm the true vine, and you're the branch. Yes. And that whole scripture, there's just so much to unpack there. But at the end of the day, I have to understand that I'm just a branch, and I get to do some pretty cool things, and I get to make things that like literally hundreds of thousands of people get to see, which still blows my mind to this day. But at the end of the day, I so have to take the seat and understand that I'm just a branch. But
that's right.
That's my title. I'm a branch.
Okay, there you go. You're the branch, which happens to oversee and be the point person for all of Pastor Mike Todd's social media, as well as, is it fair to say, all of Transformation Church's
not all of it.
well?
Maybe I would say like maybe a fourth of it.
A fourth. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're split between those two things, and we spent a lot of time talking about team, but I would love, Ron, for you to explain to all of our listeners, anytime we get a creator on, specifically creator for church accounts, and in this case, it seems like it's increasing, but on the rare occurrences, we're actually creating content for the lead pastor. Why is it important that we post things on social media? Why are we doing ministry on social media at all?
This is such a good question. First of all, like, just think of this a couple of years ago. If you asked me this question, why is it so important to put things on social media 4 years ago, 2017?
Yep.
It didn't seem valuable. I remember talking to one of my leaders a long time ago, and I was like, we're growing on social media. There are people from all over the world looking at what it is that we're doing. And he looked at me and he said, they're never going to come to our church. Why is that important? And I was like, I think you missed it. You just missed it. Yeah. Like, just because someone is in Alberta, Canada, doesn't mean that they can't take a part of what's happening at our church. And for the church leader that is thinking about this, how can they actually literally contribute to our church? Not only can they watch online, not only can they be a part of our small group, they can give their tithe to our church if they feel like they're a part of it. And that's, I think, what the online pastor's job is, to let people that don't get an opportunity to get to church feel like they can be a part of something bigger than themselves. But I remember having that conversation in 2017 and looking at it right now, where we're dead smack in the middle of a pandemic that we don't have any inclination of when it's actually going to end. Everything now is online.
Yes.
Every single thing. And how can the same way that I want someone in the congregation to feel validated by God, to hear the word of God, to understand that they're called, to know that they're loved, to extend grace, to talk about forgiveness. Every single aspect of church that grows a person should be online. Yeah. That's why we make so many sermon recaps. The goal is to make 7 to 10. We're currently making 5, I think, is the number that we're at. But like, how much of what happened on Sunday can I get in someone's face? Because they might not make it. They might not click that YouTube link. They may not. Honestly, I want someone that doesn't love God to see it. How can I get someone that doesn't love God to have that be on the forefront of their Explore page? How can I get that on their For You page? How can I get someone on Facebook to share it so that that someone that does not know God can experience who God is through a lens, through a camera screen? Because there's no limit to what God can do or where God can be. So, like, I want people to feel inspired. I want people, like, the whole goal of putting everything on social is literally so that people can feel God's presence. It's not because we want to get famous. It's not because we're trying to show that, like, someone is a great preacher, or like that what happened at church was super cool. Those are theatrics. That's like an afterthought. But my first thought is, there's someone that needs that. There's one person that needs that. And like, it's just I think that's so important. And as soon as I got to TC, I got to a place where my pastor believed that. He's like, yo, everything that I do is for that one person online. And I'm like, we're not even in a pandemic yet. And he was already thinking that way.
Yes, and look at what God has done in blessing Transformation Church because of that mentality, because of the things, the rhythms that were stored up, the prayers that were stored up. Now in a season, you guys knew exactly what to do because it was basically continuing to do what you've been doing with the same mentality.
This whole time.
Totally, this whole time. And I'm going to make the assumption that now we're in 2021. This podcast should no longer be about convincing you as a listener that social media is worth it and that you should be putting your ministry on there. But I do want to drill down on if you're buying into the goal that there are churches out there that aren't interested in growing their fame and their kingdom, or pastors, not just churches, but even pastors that aren't interested in growing their brand, their fame, but they're actually doing it because, like Pastor Mike Todd believes, somebody needs to hear this message that God spoke through me. If you've come to that assumption, I'm curious, when you're thinking about, there's so many things that you said, Ron, when you're thinking about the strategy behind, and I just want to drill down here for a second. I know there's more things we want to talk about, but when you're thinking about that strategy, you talked about, I want it to get on their For You page, get in their algorithm, get in front of their faces. What are some of those things that you're thinking of? Because I know that there's churches that they might not even know, someone listening to this might not even know what, creating a sermon snippet or a sermon recap or I think you phrased it as a sermon recap, what that is. And you're creating 7 to 10 of those things. Let's talk about some practical strategy for a second. Maybe how long are those? What do they look like? Like, what are you trying to encapsulate in one of those recaps? And then what is your goal with all of the content you're putting out during the week to help disciple people and help get that message in front of their face?
That's such a beautiful way of putting it, how to help disciple people.
Yeah.
Like, the Great Commission is to go out into the world and make disciples. And no one said that it had to be, you don't have to be in their face. Right. Like, if I can go out and make disciples from the comfort of my phone and still be at home, like with your wife, with your kids, and still take care of everything you need to take, that is incredible. God has literally made a way for you. So we're in 2021. Yes. I shouldn't be convincing you that everything you need to do, everything you're doing needs to be on social media. But the strategy behind that is, when I'm listening to a message, I'm really just listening for how many points I can pull from it. Like, oh, that's a recap, or oh, that's an IGTV video. That's a reel that can go on TikTok. All this needs to be on Facebook, and so on and so forth. And I think it's understanding what each platform needs. I think there is, oh my gosh, they're all machines, literally. They're all machines, and they all have something that just makes it happy. Like, I'm not going to put coffee beans in a juicer. Like, that is just not going to work.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But for the specific machine, so like in a coffee grinder, I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to get the best output from that. I'm going to put carrots in a juicer so that I can get the best output from that. So each social media platform has their own version of such. So Facebook loves long form videos. Absolutely loves it.
Now let's drill down, because YouTube still exists, obviously, and YouTube is the longest form, right?
Oh, my goodness.
So when you're talking about long form, even as you were talking, I was like, I need an opportunity to ask this question, because guys, as you're listening to this, I am learning. Like, we love bringing people on that are just, nobody has this figured out. So when you were breaking down like long form on Facebook, and you were talking about, because now things like obviously TikTok Reels, very short form, 15-second is the norm.
Yes.
Right? 15-second is the norm. That's a normal length piece of content. So when you're saying long form content, because this is very new in 2021 and ever changing, what is long form Facebook content?
Technically long form Facebook content is anything over 3 minutes. Because our attention span is just so tiny. But anything over 3 minutes is technically long form, specifically for Facebook. If you're putting something on Facebook and your video is 15 minutes long, it's like that's good, because someone's going to stay there. I probably wouldn't go more than 30 minutes on Facebook. But if I'm in a 20-minute, 30-minute range, it's time to go to YouTube. If you're making a short film if you're posting a full sermon, just put it on your YouTube, because there you can actually, it's made for that. I can get subscribers. I can get people notified. There's a comment section. I can go live.
Yes.
Like YouTube is king, honestly. Like if I
Yes.
could say that, YouTube is the most superior app. Why? Because you can actually make money from it without having to ask people for money from it.
Totally.
You don't have to buy anything. All they have to do is be there.
That's
and
it.
You technically make money on YouTube. Like, it's a faithful giver.
That's it.
It's so smart.
That's
you can
right.
create an entire career from it. So literally, YouTube is that is the platform. That's essentially where it all stems from.
It's like thinking about a TV show, right? Like
a TV show.
I'm probably I'd rather watch this piece of content on my TV. That's YouTube. Whereas Facebook, everything else that you're kind of drilling down on right now is on your phone, and 3 minutes is an eternity on your phone. So 3 minutes is long form Facebook content. So go ahead, continue locking in kind of what those different parts of the message might be, so that we're not putting coffee beans into a juicer.
Sweet. So if anything, you're going to put your entire sermon on YouTube, right? It lives there. It stays there, separated. Like, get it locked in. You make a playlist, title it correctly. How can you reverse engineer that? Because that's everything long form is made for YouTube. Yep. Then you're going to break it down. I'm going to take that message, chop it up into as many pieces as I possibly can for the week. And now you don't have to post another picture. You don't need to make a graphic. If you just make videos out of that YouTube video, you should be good. So I'm going to break it down for Facebook. So if there's longer thoughts, like explaining the vision, this weekend, Pastor Mike, he actually gave 11 ways that God is speaking. My thought is that's a long Facebook video that was about 5 to 10 minutes. And if it goes well on Facebook, I'm probably going to post that on another YouTube platform, because YouTube is another search engine. So
that's smart.
So if longer thoughts, you want to put that on Facebook, make it a post that's community driven. Ask a question. How does God speak to you? Which one of these 11 ways that we say God is speaking resonates with you the most?
Yes.
Or share this with a friend who you were talking about recently that wants to listen to God. Like that's one of those ways that you can use that. And then let's just say those 11 points. Wow, this is so easy. Those 11 points, they're probably about a minute or so each.
Right.
So those can individually be sermon recaps. So now that's something that I can make captions for, or someone else can make captions for, because it takes forever. And now you got 11 pieces of content to go on your Instagram, 1 piece of content to go on your Facebook, and you got something on YouTube. And then the little stories that he tells in those 11 pieces can be IG Reels, or you can make them TikToks. And now I've only spoken about one aspect of that entire message. There's still 48 minutes of that message.
1 5 to 10 minute chunk. 1 5 to 10 minute chunk produced content for everything. But you transformed the coffee beans into carrots so that it all made sense. Going down the correct funnels.
Yes.
So I want to lock in here, because a lot of people are still trying to figure out TikTok and Reels. And even in my head, as much as I know it's not true, trying to understand specifically the content that plays well on TikTok, because obviously it's short form, quick hitting, but I have a tough time telling, outside of the very stereotypical stuff that you see on TikTok. When you're thinking about TikTok and Reels, how are you taking something from a message that isn't putting coffee beans into a juicer? Because all I can see when I'm listening to a message is, no, that doesn't feel right. I don't know. I can't identify TikTok and Reels content yet. Do you want to maybe give some talking points and some pieces to pastors who maybe aren't there, but they want to learn and understand what might play well? Because obviously not every pastor, like there were some pastors that talked in tweets, right? When Twitter was a big thing, they spoke their messages in tweets. They had a couple pithy sentences that hit well, played well on Twitter. There's some pastors that probably are naturally gifted at talking in a TikTok Reels language. They might not know it, and some aren't. And so you don't necessarily need to tune out for this. But I don't think every pastor probably needs to be there. But I want to learn and grow in my ability to identify what is TikTok content. When they're saying that, oh, that would play well on Reels. Do you want to kind of let us know, like, what are the red flags, or what are the things that you identify as, TikTok?
Great. That's another good question. So Instagram Reels and let's just start with Instagram Reels because
are they the same, Ron? Are they the same?
They're the same, but they're different. They're like when you have a word that's spelled the same, but they mean two different things. That's what they are.
Interesting. Do you want to take like 30 seconds to explain that? Because I wouldn't have even identified that.
So like lead and led. That's essentially what it's like.
Okay.
One is currently
I understood the analogy. I'm curious, what are lead and led, two very different things, spelled the same, and even in sometimes articulated the same as you're saying it. But led and lead are different things. What are those differences with TikTok and Reels? Yeah. What kind of signifies them apart?
So it's really funny that I ended up saying that word because I feel like TikTok is leading it, and Instagram Reels is being led by TikTok.
Okay.
So a lot of people are just going to post their TikTok content on Instagram Reels, which actually is genius. And I've seen so many people grow insurmountably because TikTok, the way that works is you want to post regularly 2 to 3 times a day.
Wow.
On IG Reels, they're usually about 2 to 3 weeks behind TikTok, just as how Twitter is actually ahead of everyone because it's such a great source for news. But let's see. So Instagram Reels, since it's not the way that works is that the music isn't as current.
Gotcha.
It's not invested in as the same, but Instagram is saying, if you use this feature, we will reward you for using it. So I think we posted, Transformation Church posted an Instagram Reel yesterday, and I think it's at 250,000 views. And I'm like, most things that we post don't get that much. Most things that we post are about 100. So literally you could say it did 150% better than it would normally if I just posted it on an Instagram. And if I made it a story, it would only get a couple thousand views. But it's like, I would rather post it on an IG Reel because it's something that I can share my story, which is a whole different thing because you can't share TikTok on TikTok. You just share it to your friends. Right. So the way that Instagram works, it's in that way. So, and what's working on Instagram Reels, how do I word that? It just is a little bit behind. So if you see a trend on TikTok, it probably won't catch up until a couple weeks later on Instagram Reels. And on Instagram Reels, it doesn't have to be a part of a trend. So like TikTok is really just about trends, and IG Reels is about essentially making the content. If you can make the content into an IG Reel, you're winning. It doesn't need a rhyme or reason. You probably don't need hashtags. Like if you got worship and there was a beautiful moment in worship, take that 30 seconds because 30 seconds is the max. You can't do anything more than that. And put it on IG Reel. If your pastor said something about like very controversial about prayer, right? I would probably put that on IG Reel. Like I can't think of one from from our sermon this past weekend, but like there's moments where I'm like, that was quick, it was fast, it made a lot of sense. And if I just put a small track behind it, that is an Instagram Reel. Then, because I need to post so many things on TikTok anyways, I'm going to take that reel, post it on TikTok.
Yes. So are you doing something different for TikTok? So you just explained a great articulation for Reels. In probably what you're about to talk about is how even the content is subtly different. But the idea of quick hitting, 30 seconds, that was said really clearly. It was powerful and even somewhat controversial, which is going to stop the scroll right. I got to hear what this guy's going to say about prayer. But on Instagram, it's a little bit behind maybe the trends you might be seeing on TikTok, but
Yes.
it's even being interacted with differently. You can share it in a story. You can do a little bit more Instagram-y things with that piece of content.
Yes.
So now let's go drill down on TikTok, where you would say anything you're creating for Instagram Reels, just go ahead and throw it on TikTok, but not necessarily everything you're doing on TikTok would you throw on Instagram Reels.
Right.
Is that also true?
Yes.
Okay.
Or at least just wait a little bit. Just give it some time.
Save it. Yeah. Okay.
Just save it, which is hard to do.
Sure.
But like, so on TikTok, there are these things called trends. So there's a song called "Where's the Love," and in the song it sounds like dun 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 dun. Like it's a thing. So people are doing that. Like when I say a lot, like people, I mean billions of people are making this trend a thing. All you got to do is filter it through your niche. Our niche is Jesus. That's not that hard to do.
Right.
Like I made this I made this TikTok.
Let me overemphasize this. It's Jesus. It's not necessarily what you talked about from the pulpit or the stage on Sunday. It's not necessarily in brand with what you're focused on in the season that your church is at. It's not necessarily like it's about Jesus. And that, I think that nugget right there is what I need to keep reminding myself of, because that really opens it up. A lot of times I'm getting stuck like, okay, well, how do we take the content from the stage is the sandbox that I get to play in, which in a lot of cases, that's great because it's going to fulfill the need for Facebook. It's going to fulfill the need for Instagram, for YouTube, for podcasts, for all those things. But when we're talking about some of these other platforms that are a little bit newer, they require a musical background. They require you to ride a trend, I should say. You should be playing in the Jesus sandbox, which is ultimately what we're all doing on the weekend anyways, right? The reason that we get up on stage, the reason we get in behind a microphone in a pulpit, read out of the Bible is to play in the Jesus sandbox. We just dress that a little bit differently so that it makes sense on the weekend, right? Like, because we want to make sure that on the weekend, we're not putting coffee beans in the juicer, right? So we have a sermon series. We have all of these things. Ron, you're opening Pandora's box for me here. Okay, so going to TikTok, you guys are focused on playing into Jesus sandbox. So you got to get your mind out of maybe the sermon series that you're in, or out of the passage of text that you're reading through that weekend. And you got to get into Jesus sandbox. And how can we talk about Jesus using this trend, using this beat? Go carry on. I'm so excited.
You hit the nail on the head. So like, it's not exactly like what you did on the weekend that's going to pop, unless you're already a big name like Craig Rochelle. This man's like, all he needs to do is talk, and that's going to do great. He's verified on TikTok. Like, I don't even know how it happened, but this man is doing his thing. But like the things that blew up on TikTok for me, because I'm running Pastor Mike's TikTok account, was one thing that he said about relationships, which for some reason the entire Christian world is just fixated on like, I just want to get married. And I'm like, y'all need help. Like, just be patient. It's going to be okay. Your man's is coming. Your girl is coming. But so relationships is a big thing centered around Jesus. And then taking a trend and then just dousing it with Jesus. So let's see, what can I talk about first? I made a video about Jacob working for Rachel and said he got Leah and he was upset, right?
Yes.
That's the Jesus content. I filtered it through a song that was trending, and it blew up. It got for someone that doesn't. I'm not famous on TikTok. I think I have a couple thousand followers, but that video alone got about 30,000 views and like 10,000 likes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. It's Jesus content. There's different worlds in TikTok, and it's infinite. So there's Christian TikTok. There's, in our case, specifically to my church, is we have Transformation Church TikTok. There is like Christian comedy. Like, it's so crazy how many circles there are. And that's just, I'm only talking about Jesus right now. There's relationship TikTok. There's real estate TikTok. There's stocks. There's so many different worlds. And that's so why they called it For You, because you're the one that's in control of what it is that you see, all by what you like, all by what you're commenting on, all by what you stay watching. And if you just spend a day liking content that you want to see more, then you'll start to understand the worlds of TikTok. So if you're just listening to the trends and saying, how can I filter this through God? So there's a video right now. Like if you just test this right now. There's a sound that's like, yeah, I could take you there. Yeah, I don't know how to word it. That's just a song, right? And you can make a video where you're like, yo, I haven't been to church in a minute. And then like the other side is like, oh, you want to go to church? I could take you there. Yeah. And then the next clip is y'all just riding in the car to church or watching online. That's something that I know for a fact will do numbers. Because the song is trending, but you've got about a week and a half before that song is done. So like, it's just paying attention to how that works. And now what I'm doing right now is I should be taking about an hour today and just listening. And it's cool because I get to just go on TikTok, but really I'm consuming, okay, how does that work? How can I use this sound? How can I have Pastor Mike just say something like, can I listen to something that he says that's related to that? And I can just use that. Or can I text him and say, hey, can you record this video real quick? Send it to me. I'm going to chop it up and we'll make it a TikTok, and so on and so forth. So it's really seeing those things. And then it'll work on TikTok. If it blows up on TikTok and it also is a church invitation, just use that on Friday and Saturday to invite people to church. And now I've waited a little bit. I've seen what works. I've seen what doesn't work. And it's not like it's going to make or break. The thing is, TikTok is so fast paced. No one's going to know that post that you worked on. So don't make it beautiful. Just post. Right. So TikTok is just different in that way because it's trending, and Instagram is still this like almost, I want to say curated, but not, because I do not give a rip about my Instagram aesthetic anymore. But I think you get what I'm saying. Yes.
We all get what you're saying. Ron, this is so helpful. So we just talked about, it's so funny thinking about Facebook as long form content. We talked about long form content, 3 to 10 to 15 minutes, really concentrated on a longer thought for Facebook, and then taking that piece of content and breaking it down into something for Instagram, something for TikTok, something for Reels. You encouraged us, if all you do is make video content, that is the play, which obviously takes a little bit more work than just creating a graphic, which is why there are so many graphics created for the church. But we really need to be, let me ask you this question before we transition into how in the world do you make so much content? Because it's not just Ron, as Ron talked about at the beginning of this podcast. But how, what question was I going to ask on the content?
How do I make so much content?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go into, but I wanted to ask you one more question before we transition out of that, pertaining to I was going to ask you, if a church's account has only videos, no graphics, is that in and of itself a good strategy? 100% videos.
I almost want to say yeah, because I mean, if 2 years ago the statistic was 80% of all content consumed was video, and it's been 2 years, I almost want to say, it's a really bold statement, but I almost want to say yes. Wow. Try it for a week. No one's going to know. Like, they're not going to pay attention. Like, that's the thing. Our minds are on so many different things. Like, one's, like, no offense to anyone, but no one is thinking about like what we are doing. Like, I have to understand that. Like, no one, like, as big as we are, I have to understand that, like, at the end of the day, like, nobody cares. Like, and again, it's another harsh thing to say, but I have to understand it that way, because I can't let this get to my head at all.
Yes.
So like, but someone has a life. Like, I email them or I text them or I show them a post, and like, they still got their kids to worry about. They still got to go get their car fixed. They're still struggling with their relationship with their mom. That like, they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many other things that people have to think about. And that's why, that I said in the beginning, I need to make sure all my content is giving hope to people. Yes. I don't want to take away from anyone's day. If I can add to your day, or if I can, like, if God can add to your day, honestly, that's really what it is. That is the win, because I'm not going to occupy your entire mind for the entire week. So like no one's going to look at your page and be like, you guys don't have any graphics. Like that's not what's going to happen.
Right. Totally.
And most of the graphics that we make probably comes from something that your pastor said. So why don't you just take what your pastor said and make it a video?
Preach. They might not. The number one excuse would be, I don't have time. I can't do it. So Ron, perfect segue into how do you create at Transformation Church and with Pastor Mike's account, how do you create so much content? I'll leave it at that. How do you create so much content, Ron?
This is so important. One, like know that someone has to make this. It's going to take a lot of their time. It's not like, can you just do this really quick? Like people ask me all the time, like, oh, it's just a quick, like making a motion graphic, honey, is going to take a little bit longer than 30 seconds. Like, I love you.
Yes.
But like, and I'm also doing other things and I still have to be in other meetings. And don't we have this staff meeting? And it's like, there's so many things that take up your day, not to mention if I had a family, if I have kids, or if you're mentoring people or you have an event, it's like, oh snap, that 4 hours that I thought I had to make this, I don't. And so a real thing is if you ain't got nobody on your team, you're probably not going to sleep, or you have to say no to people. And first of all, we need to learn the art of saying no. By saying no to this, it means you're saying yes to other things.
That's right. And
by doing those other things, once I get it all done, then I can start saying yes. But that's just adulthood. But what you need is a team.
Yes.
And that's not easy to do, I realize. It's not easy to convince people that, hey, we're going to do this. I'm probably not going to pay you, but I love you.
Yes.
And that's hard. And you have to have like a fair trade. Like some people just like have team members and that's just it. Like, oh, the volunteer can do it. Wait, time out, pause. This person is making your whole life easy that you're getting paid for. So we got to trade them something, like mentor them, give them what it is that you know as a leader, as a person. I feel like I'm consistently trading my leadership like capacity, opportunity, and ability for someone's like literally for their content. So if you're making me content, I'm probably doing life with you. If you're making a video with me, I'm probably going to be doing I'm probably going to be getting you food. I'm probably going to be getting you coffee. And it's not just because you did it. It's like because you're in my life now.
That's right.
You're literally making my life easier and I'm technically making your life harder. So I'm going to go ahead and make the other aspects of your life easy because God has literally given me the ability to have wisdom from him. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, make it a fair trade at least.
So good.
Like, and if you're at a church and you're making cool things, there's at least 5 to 10 people that would say, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. 1, I want to learn it. 2, I think that person is incredible. 3, they're watching you. You know, the reason why you're watching this, the reason why you're paying attention to this is because you know that people are paying attention to you.
Yes.
That's really it. You like utilize, that's called influence, friend. Utilize it the right way and make it in a way that you make impact on someone's life, and trade it to teach them, hey, I'm going to show you how to make this video. I'm going to show you how to take photos. Trust me when I say everyone wants to do that. Every kid right now, every 16-year-old right now wants to be a YouTuber. Hey, if I can give you the tools to do this and you love Jesus, let's do that. Like that's a fair trade. Like, because that's exactly what happened to me. Someone finessed me and said, hey man, I'm just going to show you how to make these graphics. Next thing you know, it worked for me. And, this is my job now. Like if they didn't teach me that, if they didn't mentor me, if I didn't spend that time with Sean Cannell, if I didn't spend that time with John Mediana, if I never asked Omar El Tagrouri how to do these things and help them, because it really did, it helped them.
That's right.
I would have never been where I am today. So the revelation that's normal to you, or I'm sorry, what's normal to you is revelation to someone else, and it can change, it can alter how that person's future is affected. So take the time, mentor someone, even if it's one person at a time. Like right now, I'm mentoring like 3 people right now, and I see them every single day to the point where one of them lives with me at this, like literally he sleeps on my couch. Like, like
you had to kick him out for this podcast, huh?
I had to kick him out for the podcast. I was like, hey bro, like, and it just so happened he gravitated towards me. I prayed about it. In my mind, I was like, all right, I'm never going to see this kid again. And I saw him. I text him every day. I check up on him all the time.
Yeah.
I'm mentoring him in life, but I'm also teaching him skills. Like,
that's right.
I'm teaching him how to make videos. I'm teaching him how to make motion graphics. And for him, I'm not exactly 100 on how this is going to benefit his life other than the mentorship part, but like he can make money from this. So,
Totally.
I mean, technically it is benefiting his life,
That's
but
it.
then like the mentorship got so close and so real that he's like, can I live with you? And I'm like, I'm not doing nothing, man. Like, of course you can. Like, if I'm going to help make your life better, yes. Yep. Do I wish I had a bigger apartment? Yes. But that's another story too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So like take those opportunities. Sometimes we get scared. Like I look at leaders like, I forget who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Robert Madu, or was it? I can't remember. But like they were like, oh yeah, we had someone like live with us. And I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to be a blessing into someone's life in that way. Okay. And that was my opportunity. I took it. I have another person. She was living in North Carolina. And then third one, he was living in Virginia. They were a part of our online team. And I just got so close with them. And they were like, we want to move to Tulsa. I was like, bet, move to Tulsa. And now one of them lives in my apartment building and the other one lives 10, 15 minutes away. Again, we see each other every single day.
That's amazing.
And I'm showing them how to make, how to do motion, how to take photos better, how to be a better leader. And that's my trade for them as they help me do this. And like, essentially I have 3 assistants now that I'm mentoring. And the thing is, if I'm teaching them leadership capacity, they can lead teams. So all the teams that I have at church, they could be the leaders of. And now I've expanded myself in a whole different way. So now I've gone from 1 to 3 to 10. And now I don't even have to be in the everyday of the 10 because I'm teaching one person how to lead those people. So
that's it. Expand
yourself. If you're struggling with that, make a small group. We call them B groups here. I know I'm saying a lot, but like,
preach. Look out, Craig Rochelle. This turned out into a leadership topic. Into a leadership podcast real quick. Look out, Craig Rochelle.
Man. And that's honestly where I learned it from.
That's it.
Like just listening to leadership talks. Brian Houston has a leadership talk he talks on all the time. Craig Rochelle is a machine. Chad Veach has so many leadership talks. Your pastor is saying you like take the things that you're learning in your staff meetings. Every time you have an opportunity to learn from your pastor, that's free game. You didn't have to work for that. You have to toil for that. You don't have to study for it. Go ahead, tell other people because it's not just for you. And like, that's how you do it. Make a B group, make a small group, invest in them and let them know from the first day, if you're in this, you're a leader. And now you set the expectation. And so the next small group season, they're probably going to be leading people because you set the expectation. And now you go from 1 to 7. And let's just say all 7 of those people, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, 3 of those people get groups of themselves and they have 7 people. Now you just expanded. That's 7, 14, 21, 20. You went from 1 to 30. And if all 30 people worked 1 hour a day, that's 30 hours in one day. Incredible.
That's right. Absolutely. And that brings it full circle from what we started with. The reason that we are putting our ministry on social media is because there's people that need to hear.
That's so
good. I want to get on TC stage and preach because there's people that are just, you stand up. I love.
I didn't even think about that, man.
Bro,
you just brought it full circle. The whole point is to disciple people.
That's what it is. That's what it is, because there's something that somebody needs to hear that's free to them, which social media gives us that vehicle to do that. That's free to them, that's going to benefit them. And then there's the trickle down from that. That's why we do ministry online, for the same reasons that we are pouring into our volunteers because it's a transaction. And there's stuff that people need to hear. And social media gives us the very best way to broadcast that with very little effort on our end. We let Facebook do the heavy lifting. We let YouTube do the heavy lifting to get Jesus out, because people got to hear it so that they can share it.
Hear it.
That's right. How would Ron and I be able to invest in our volunteers if you, as a leader, as a preacher, are not sharing the things that we need? It's why Craig Rochelle has a free podcast. It's why Chad Veach, Robert Madu, all these people that you talked about have free resources for people, and they're willing to record their content because it's not just for you. It's not just for your congregation. It's not just for your wife. It's not just for your family. It's not just for your husband. It is for all of us. God's put that in you, and social media gives us the avenue to put that out with no expectation.
To go out into the world.
That's it.
Yep.
Ron, I just feel like that's how we have to end it until I bring you on again.
That was so good.
It.
That was full circle.
Hey, you led us there, bro. You led us.
Wow.
Well, I'm so excited, Ron. I'm excited selfishly for the friendship that was created on this Zoom call,
Yes.
and for all of our listeners just getting really great content. And if you're listening to this and there's somebody that needs to hear the track lap that we just made, go ahead and share it with them. Take this link wherever you're listening to podcasts, share this via text, make a TikTok, try something out. You can share some of these messages with people. All of the notes on how to connect with John are okay, I got to tell you guys this. This is super yes. transparent for me. Yes. Ron has the coolest spelling of his name, Rohn. It's the Ron like John. And so I've been thinking about that in my head this whole time, especially because I've seen it on there. So I just called Ron John. Very, very vulnerable time in our friendship right now. Early stages. I can't be making mistakes like that.
No, you're good.
But any way that you want to connect with Ron, the coolest Ron you know, it's all in the show notes of this episode. I would love for you guys to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That will help us amplify all of these great conversations to all the people that need to hear it. And until next time, and there will be a next time with Ron. Ron, do you want to say bye to everybody?
Hey, I'm so glad that you watched. I really just want you to take it all to heart. Understand this. I think this could be something that could change not only your life, but the people in your life. And Pastor Charles says this all the time.
Yes.
The more I make it, the more that I downplay my calling, the more I will make an excuse.
Yes.
Dang it, I don't want to butcher it. He says it so well. In short, I'm sorry. Don't downplay your calling.
Yes.
Because if you do, you'll make an excuse not to live up to it. And there's so many people attached to what it is that you are called to do.
That's right.
That you are made to do. So invest, take the time, actually commit to these things. And I really do think that this will not only change your life, but other people's lives.
That's right. That's it, Ron. This is going to be some bonus content because I didn't ask you one question that I think is vitally important for the leaders who are entering into digital space. If God has given us the calling to lead digitally, we also have to pour into the leaders so that it's sustainable. The Netflix documentary came out, Social Dilemma. People were scared. I just need to get rid of this because I can't even touch it, and I don't agree with that. And this podcast doesn't agree with that. But you do need to be aware of it. So Ron, can you let our listeners know what is one thing that you do digitally as like a guardrail is the wrong word, as like a sustainability piece? So how do you turn it off? Maybe what's one tip that you do to keep tech and social media at arm's length because you're in it so much? How do you keep yourself healthy, spiritually healthy? What's one tip that you can leave our listeners as we lead them and encourage them to go onto social media, how they can do it in a sustainable, healthy way?
That's really beautiful.
Well, you think about that because I sprung it on you for some of the things that we've talked about. One of the things that I do, like limiting notifications is a big one that people talk about. Maybe there's like a Sabbath rhythm where you just aren't on social media or you're not around your phone for the day. Just little nuggets like that. What's one thing that Ron does to keep himself healthy?
It started in, I think it was 2018. I started to feel insecure about what it was that I was posting. The people are posting, and I just realized that I was comparing. And I actually had to buckle down, triple down, and deal with that. I had to deal with my insecurities instead of being upset that someone else did something that was bigger than me, or taking a photo that was better than mine, or making a video that was greater than mine. I started to celebrate them. Like, instead of taking it to heart and being jealous, I had to deal with that. And I feel like that's normal for any 21-year-old to do.
Yes.
Like, you just want to be the best at what it is that you do. But the thing is, we're not. I'm not. Yes. You're not. So instead of taking that and having it fight against you, use that same energy and celebrate someone genuinely, because that's how the kingdom works. The way that we win is literally by building other people. And if you want a cheat code to that, your cheat code to life is build other people. And then I turned off my notifications. I don't get a notification from Instagram. I don't get any notifications from Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. I have to open it and look into it. Because if I did, I would be a slave to my phone. Totally. And I just can't. So, and I would say we take Sabbath really seriously. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. And then I know you said one thing, but I said a lot of things there.
Those are all good. I just really felt convicted after watching that, where I realized there was something that I was aware of that other people hadn't thought about. And I'm like, I was surprised watching that other people hadn't thought about that. And so I'm like, wow, we lead. I still think social media is the right play. I still think there needs to be Christians there. There needs to be pastors there. We need to lead people there, because who else is going to lead them?
Exactly.
So I really wanted to, that's why it was important. Even though it feels like we had a perfect ending, it's so important to me that we talk about this, and that I ask the guests that we have on here, how, if we are going to be leading a group of pastors to do ministry on social media, we must lead them in a way that is sustainable and healthy, so that we don't see, at worst, moral failure, or in a microcosm, or on the small scale, something like, I just don't want to do it anymore because I'm tired of the political stuff, or whatever it is. We need to be here, guys, and we have a message that needs to be conveyed on social media.
Yeah.
Jesus, the gospel, must be used on social media, because there's people that are stuck, are hurting, are broken, that have not had their lives transformed yet, that need to hear that message, and they are on social media. And so therefore we are on social media. So thank you for sharing that, Ron. That, I think, is the most important part of the podcast. How do we do ministry on here sustainably? So thank you for sharing that nugget. Encouragement. That's actually my word for the year. I pick a word each year. Wow. Encouragement is my word for the year. And yeah, that's the shift. When we celebrate others, when we realize that we need all the churches on social media and not just our church, that we're not competing. We're actually trying to cover and infiltrate a digital landscape that is far bigger than what any one church can do. That's it. So you got me fired up now, Ron.
Yes.
But yeah, I hope that you guys are encouraged. Thank you so much for listening. Again, share this with a friend. And until next time, my name is Aaron. I was joined by Ron today, and this is the Social Media Church podcast.